Hello, buddy. Welcome back to the Tin Man's Corner channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor, and today I'll be continuing off with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in Chapter 8, The Last Night. This is Part 2. "Ah, Mr. Utterson, that's talking," cried the butler. "And now comes the second question," resumed Utterson. "Who is going to do it?" "Why, you and me," was the undaunted reply. "That's very well said," returned the lawyer. "And whatever comes of it, I shall make it my business to see you are no loser. There's an axe in the theater," continued Poole, "and you might take the kitchen poker for yourself." The lawyer took that rude but weighty instrument into his hand and balanced it. "Do you know, Poole," he said, looking up, "that you and I are about to place ourselves in a position of some peril?" "You may say so, sir, indeed," returned the butler. "It is well, then, that we should be frank," said the other. "We both think more than we have said. Let us make a clean breast. This masked figure that you saw, did you recognize it?" "Well, sir, it was so quick, and the creature was so doubled up that I could hardly swear to that," was the answer. "But if you mean, was it Mr. Hyde?" "Why, yes, I think it was. You see, it was much of the same bigness, and it had the same quick, light way with it. And then who else could have got in by the laboratory door? You have not forgot, sir, that at the time of the murder he had still the key with him. But that's not all. I don't know, Mr. Hudson, if ever you met this Mr. Hyde." "Yes," said the lawyer, "I once spoke with him." "Then you must know as well as the rest of us that there was something queer about that gentleman, something that gave a man to turn. I don't know rightly how to say it, sir, beyond this, that you felt it in your marrow kind of cold and thin." "I own I felt something of what you described," said Mr. Utterson. "Quite so, sir," returned Poole. "Well, when that masked thing like a monkey jumped from among the chemicals and whipped into the cabinet, it went down my spine like ice. Oh, I know it's not evidence, Mr. Utterson. I've learned enough for that. But a man has his feelings, and I give you my Bible word it was Mr. Hyde." "Aye, said the lawyer. "My fears inclined to the same point. Evil, I feared, found it. Evil was sure to come of that connection. Truly, I believe you. I believe poor Harry is killed, and I believe his murderer, for what purpose God alone could tell, is still lurking in his victim's room. Well, let our name be vengeance, called Bradshaw." The footman came at the summons, very white and nervous. "Put yourself together, Bradshaw," said the lawyer. "This suspense, I know, is telling upon all of you, but it is now our intention to make an end of it. Poole here and I am going to force out our way into the cabinet. If all is well, my shoulders are broad enough to bear the blame. Meanwhile, lest anything should really be amiss or any malefactor seek to escape by the back, you and the boy must go round the corner with a pair of good sticks and take your post at the laboratory door. We give you 10 minutes to get to your stations." As Bradshaw left, the lawyer looked at his watch. "And now, Poole, let us get to ours," he said, and taking the poker under his arm, "lead the way into the yard." The scud had banked over the moon, and it was now quite dark. The wind, which only broke in puffs and draughts into that deep well of building, tossed the light of the candle to and fro about their steps until they came into the shelter of the theater, where they sat down silently to wait. London hummed solemnly all around, but near at hand the stillness was only broken by the sound of a football moving to and fro along the cabinet floor. "So it will walk all day, sir," whispered Poole. "Ay, and the better part of the night, only when a new sample comes from the chemist there's a bit of a break. Oh, it's an ill conscience that such a enemy to rest. Ah, sir, there's blood foully shed in every step of it. But hark again a little closer. Put your heart in your ears, Mr. Utterson, and tell me, is that the doctor's foot?" Oh man, he's getting really serious about this right now. I figured Mr. Hyde would not hide for long. The steps fell lightly and oddly, with a certain swing, for all they went so slowly. It was different, indeed, from the heavy creaking tread of Henry Jekyll. Utterson sighed. "Is there never anything else?" he asked. Poole nodded. "Once," he said, "once I heard it weeping. Weeping how that," said the lawyer, conscious of a sudden chill of horror. "Weeping like a woman or a lost soul," said the butler. "I came away with that upon my heart that I could have wept too. But now the 10 minutes drew to an end." Poole disinterred the axe from under a stack of packet straw. The candle was set upon the nearest table to light them to the attack, and they drew near with bated breath to where that patient foot was still going up and down in the quiet of the night. "Jekyll," cried Utterson with a loud voice, "I demand to see you." He paused a moment, but there came no reply. "I give you fair warning. Our suspicions are aroused, and I must and shall see you," he resumed. "If not by fair means, then by foul. If not of your consent, then by brute force." Oh, they're really determined to find him. "Utterson," said the voice, "for God's sake, have mercy." "Oh, that's not Jekyll's voice, it's Hyde's," cried Utterson. "Down with the door, Poole." Poole swung the axe over his shoulder, and blow shook the building, and the red baize door leaped against the lock and hinges. A dismantled screech, as of mere animal terror, rang from the cabinet. Up went the axe again, and again the panels crashed, and the frame bounded 4 times. The blow fell, but the wood was tough, and the fittings were of excellent workmanship. It was not until the 5th that the lock burst in sunder, and the wreck of the door fell inwards on the carpet. The besiegers, appalled by their own riot and the stillness that had succeeded, stood back a little and peered in. There lay the cabinet before their eyes in quiet lamplight, a good fire glowing and chattering on the hearth, the kettle singing its thin strain, a drawer or 2 open, papers neatly set forth on the business table, and nearer the fire the things laid out for tea. The quietest room, you would have said, and but for the glazed presses full of chemicals, the most commonplace that night in London. Right in the midst there lay the body of a man, sorely contorted and still twitching. They drew near on tiptoe, turned it on its back, and beheld the face of Edward Hyde. He was dressed in clothes far too large for him, clothes of the doctor's bigness. The cords of his face still moved with the semblance of life, but life was quite gone, and by the crushed file in the hand and the strong smell of kernels that hung upon the air, Utterson knew that he was looking on the body of a self-destroyer. "We have come too late," he said sternly. "Whether to save or punish Hyde is gone to his account, and it only remains for us to find the body of your master." The fair greater proportion of the building was occupied by the theater, which filled almost the whole ground story and was lighted from above, and by the cabinet which formed an upper story at one end and looked upon a corridor joined the theater to the door on the by street, and with this the cabinet communicated separately by a second flight of stairs. There were besides a few dark closets and a spacious cellar. All these they now thoroughly examined. Each closet needed but a glance, for all were empty, and all, by the dust that fell from their doors, had stood long unopened. There they are, looking at the body of Mr. Hyde, which I'm surprised he did not contort back to Dr. Jekyll yet, but it was too late. The cellar, indeed, was filled with crazy lumber, mostly dated from the times of the surgeon who was Jekyll's predecessor. But even as they opened the door, they were advised of the uselessness of further search by the fall of a perfect mat of cobweb which had for years sealed up the entrance. Nowhere was there any trace of Henry Jekyll, dead or alive. Poole stamped on the flags of the corridor. "He must be buried here," he said, hearkening to the sound. "Or he may have fled," said Utterson. And he turned to examine the door in the by street. It was locked, and lying near by on the flags, they found the key already stained with rust. "This does not look like used," observed the lawyer. "Used," echoed Poole.